Hello everyone. I'm Anna from GreenGeeks, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Irreplaceable Human Skills That Differentiate You in the AI Era, with our guest speaker, Silvia Vasquez, Leadership Development Coach and Facilitator and Maestro RQ. So welcome, Silvia. We're so glad to have you speak at our webinar. And real quick, I want to say a couple of words about GreenGeeks for those of you watching who may not be familiar with us. We're a 300% green energy web hosting provider, which essentially means we put back 3 times the amount of energy we consume in the grid in the form of renewable energy. We have been recognized by the US EPA since 2009 as a Green Power Partner, and we offer share hosting, reseller hosting, VPS, and dedicated server. Also, we plant a tree for every hosting account we provision, and we recently reached 50,000 trees planted through our partnership with a global reforestation nonprofit, One Tree Planted. So now moving on to our webinar, a few housekeeping items. If you come up with questions during the presentation, please put it in the Q&A, and Silvia will be answering them at the end of her presentation. You're welcome to chat in the chat room, but remember to select everyone if you want everyone to see what you're discussing. And we want this to be interactive and hear your thoughts during the presentation. Also, we are recording this, so if you have to step away for another meeting or for any reasons, don't worry, because we'll be sending you a recording in the next couple of days. And finally, we have enabled live transcription for this webinar, so you have the ability to enable them during the webinar by clicking on the show captions icon. So now I'm going to introduce the GreenGeeks team who's here today, Erica Barbosa, who will be assisting us with the chat and Q&A. Hey, welcome, Erica. Do you want to introduce yourself? Say hi.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, everyone. I am Erica Barbosa from Costa Rica. Today I'm going to be assisting the chat, and hope you enjoy today with Silvia, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm going to introduce Silvia now. Silvia Vasquez. She's the co-founder of Maestro RQ, an international leadership development expert specializing in human skills for the AI era. With 20 plus years of experience training and coaching leaders across LATAM, the US, and Europe, she creates practical, engaging learning experiences that help people stay relevant, adaptable, and irreplaceable human in a technology-driven world. Silvia is known for her warm facilitation style and her ability to translate complex ideas into simple, actionable tools for modern leaders. So, welcome, Silvia. Welcome again, Silvia. Do you want to say hi to the attendees and start sharing your screen?
Hi, everybody. I am just finished setting myself up here. So, welcome. And thank you for being here and for making the time to reflect on a topic that is becoming more important every single day. What makes us irreplaceable in the age of artificial intelligence? My name is Silvia Vasquez, as you know, and I'm the co-founder of Maestro RQ. And at Maestro RQ, we work with leaders, teams, and organizations to strengthen the human capabilities that technology cannot replace. I am especially grateful to GreenGeeks for hosting this session and bringing together people from different industries and different roles and all types of levels of technical expertise. Welcome again. Before we begin, I'd like to set one clear expectation that today is not about learning how to use AI or any technical skills. It is about learning how to lead, think, and decide in a world where AI is already present. To understand why this session matters so much, we need to start with understanding what's happening around us. And, we've all experienced this. We know the world is going through unprecedented acceleration. AI is transforming how we work, how we communicate, and how we make decisions. We've all done, tasks that used to take us hours, and nowadays it takes minutes to take care of many of our tasks. And answers that used to require a lot, expertise, we can now get those answers instantly. So this speed can feel very exciting, but it can also feel overwhelming. And speed alone does not tell us where to go next. So one question we should be asking ourselves is, if AI can do so much, what happens to humans, to human value, right? And well, there's good news. And here's the reassuring and important truth. Human value is not disappearing, but it is changing. As AI raises the technical baseline, what differentiates us is no longer how much we know, but how we interpret, how we connect and lead. In other words, humanity is not becoming less relevant, it's becoming more differentiated. This shift affects all of us, regardless of age, industry, or role. I wonder if you've heard of Generation T. I'm sure we've heard of different generations, right? Some of us are baby boomers, Xers and millennials, etc. We call this moment the era of Generation T, the transition generation. Every profession, every business model, and every career path is being reshaped at the same time. This means that the most valuable skill today is not the mastery of a single tool, but the ability to navigate change with clarity and confidence. So, what does that mean for you practically? What is this session really about? This webinar is about staying relevant, resilient, and irreplaceable. It's about learning to use AI intentionally, not as a threat, but as a partner. And most importantly, it's about strengthening the human skills that allow you to create value that no algorithm can replicate. To guide our time together, let me briefly share what you will walk away with today. By the end of this session, you will be able to, one, identify your unique human value or human advantage. Two, understand how to pair judgment with AI tools. Three, apply a simple framework to spot where your human touch creates the most value. These are not abstract ideas, they're practical lenses you can apply immediately. And to build these capabilities, we need to understand that deeper shift happening beneath the technology. Now, before we go any further, I want to acknowledge two thinkers whose work has strongly influenced the way we are framing this topic today. They're Amy Webb and Nicole Bradford. Amy Webb is a quantitative futurist and a professor of strategic foresight at NYU School of Business. Her work focuses on helping leaders prepare for plausible futures. And Nicole Bradford has spent over 20 years working in emerging technologies. She's a co-founder of a venture fund that invests at the intersection of human potential and technology. What we deeply appreciate about both of them is this idea. The future is not something that simply happens to us. We have agency. We may not control everything, but we can prepare, plan, and choose how we show up. This webinar is very much inspired by that thinking. It's designed for people who already understand the basics of AI. They're not programmers, or researchers, or research scientists, but they're leaders, professionals, and business owners who are ready to go one level deeper and ask, how do I stay strategically relevant? What I'll share today is our own synthesis through the lens of Maestro RQ, focused on human skills, leadership, and relationship intelligence in the age of AI. Okay, so despite all the attention on technology, tools, and algorithms, we believe that something deeper is happening. We have not just entered the age of AI, we are entering the age of relationship. This matters because technology is becoming faster, cheaper, and more capable every day. As that is happening, technical skill alone becomes less differentiating because a lot of us get to use that technology. What does differentiate people is how they relate to themselves, to others, and to technology itself. In periods of rapid change like we're experiencing now, people don't struggle because they lack information. They struggle because relationships are under a lot of pressure. Uncertainty, strains our relationship with ourselves. Change tests our relationships with others. And unfamiliar technology challenges how we relate to tools and that we don't fully understand yet. Now, the paradox of the AI era is this: the more digital our world becomes, the more human connection becomes the source of stability. So when systems accelerate, relationships become the anchor. They are what help us interpret change, make sense of complexity, and move forward with intention rather than fear. This is why relevance in the age of AI is no longer just about expertise. It's about how well you navigate three critical relationships: the relationship with yourself, how you think, adapt, and stay grounded when things shift; the relationship with others, how trust, communication, and collaboration hold under pressure; and the relationship with technology, whether AI becomes something to react to or something you use intentionally. We'll explore each of these relationships one by one, not as abstract ideas, but as practical dimensions of leadership in the age of AI. And because the future doesn't belong to the most technical, it belongs to those who can relate well in a world of constant change. Now, let's begin with the first and most foundational relationship: the relationship you have with yourself. This relationship becomes especially important in the age of AI because change is no longer occasional, it is constant. We get new tools, new expectations, new questions about relevance, value, and the future of work. All of that creates pressure, not just externally, but internally. So the real question isn't just what do you know about AI? It's how do you respond internally when things feel uncertain? How do you manage ambiguity? How you regulate anxiety, frustration, or even self-doubt? How quickly you move into curiosity instead of fear when something unfamiliar shows up. Many leaders who struggle with AI are not lacking intelligence or capability. They are overwhelmed internally. And when that happens, even the best information becomes hard to use. We become reactive instead of reflective. We rush to conclusions or we avoid engaging altogether. We just avoid dealing with new information, new technology many times. Your relationship with yourself determines whether you experience AI as a threat or as an invitation. Leaders who are grounded internally are better able to pause, reframe, and ask better questions. They don't need to have all the answers, but they have the capacity to stay present while answers emerge. Now, leadership is never a solo act. No matter how grounded we are internally, our impact is always shaped through relationships with others. And this is the second critical relationship, right? Is the relationship you have with other people. This relationship becomes especially important in the age of AI because change is no longer just technical, it's social. AI reshapes roles. It changes how work is done. It introduces uncertainty about responsibilities, value, and the future. And whenever uncertainty increases, relationships are tested. That's why trust, empathy, communication, and collaboration are no longer soft skills. They are strategic capabilities. In times of stability, systems and processes can carry much of the load. But when change accelerates, systems alone are not enough. And something to keep in mind here is that people don't follow systems, they follow leaders they can trust. Trust becomes the currency that allows teams to move forward when answers are incomplete. It's what makes people willing to experiment, adapt, and learn together. Without trust, change feels imposed. With trust, change feels navigable. In the age of AI, leaders are often asked to guide people through transitions that they themselves are still trying to figure out. That requires honesty. It requires clarity about what is known and what is not yet known. And it requires the ability to communicate in ways that reduce fear rather than amplify it. So, as technology accelerates, human coordination becomes harder, not easier. Misunderstandings scale faster, misalignment spreads quicker. Did you know that 70% of change initiatives in the workplace are failing due to resistance and fatigue? This is why the ability to relate well, to listen, to clarify, to connect becomes a decisive leadership advantage. Strong relationships don't slow change down, they make it possible to move through change together. And this is not about being charismatic or having all the answers, it's about creating enough trust that people are willing to walk with you through uncertainty. And now we arrive at the relationship that many may be thinking about the most, our relationship with technology itself. The third critical relationship is our relationship with technology, and especially with AI. So, for many people, this is the most emotionally charged relationship of all. AI is often introduced through headlines that emphasize replacement, disruption, or loss of control. So, it's natural that fear shows up first. But here's the important shift that we need to make. Our relationship with AI must move from fear to partnership. AI is most powerful when it's directed, not followed, when it supports human judgment instead of attempting to replace it. This distinction does matter. When we treat AI as an authority, something that decides for us, we give up agency. But when we treat AI as a collaborator, something that extends our thinking, we remain in the driver's seat. So the real risk in the age of AI is not the machines will think for us, it's that we stop thinking with intention. And a healthy relationship with technology is not about using every new tool. It's about being intentional with the tools that we choose and clear about what we expect them to do and what we expect ourselves to do as well. When this relationship is misaligned, people either resist technology, sometimes they resist it completely, or they over delegate it to, or they delegate to it. Both extremes weaken human judgment. But when the relationship is intentional, AI becomes an amplifier. It accelerates insight, it expands perspective, and it creates space for humans to focus on what only humans can do. So if working with AI feels uncomfortable or confusing right now, that's not a failure. It's what we call the signal. We'll talk more about that. a signal that our perception hasn't fully caught up yet to what this technology actually is and what our role alongside it needs to be. And that's why the next capability we need to talk about is not technical at all. It's perceptual. You see, humans often misread the future, not because we lack intelligence, but because of how our attention works. When something is new, fast, or unfamiliar, our brains naturally focus on what is loud and obvious, like headlines, breaking news, bold predictions, fear based narratives. And in the age of AI, there is plenty of those. The problem is that what's loud is not always what's important. And what's visible on the surface often hides what truly matters underneath. See, our brains are wired to look for certainty and threat. It's like a survival skill. So when change accelerates, we latch onto extreme stories, either utopian or even catastrophic, because they feel easier to grasp than nuance. This is why the future often looks more dramatic than it actually is. We confuse speed with direction. We confuse visibility with significance. And we confuse possibility with inevitability. And as a result, we spend a lot of time reacting to noise instead of interpreting signals. And when that happens, we miss the deeper patterns that actually help us prepare and decide and lead. This isn't a personal failure, it's more of a human one, which is why the most important capability in times of change is not prediction, it's perception. And there is a simple visual metaphor that explains this perfectly well. Please take a look at the image I'm about to share. At first glance, it looks like random black and white shapes. There's no obvious subject or no clear meaning, just contrast. If you're trying to figure out what you're looking at, that's completely normal. You're probably seeing a cow's face, right? Once your brain reorganizes what is seen, a cow appears. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Nothing about the image has changed. Only your perception did. This image is known as the Dallenbach cow, and it illustrates something powerful about how our minds work. What you just experienced is what psychologists often refer as to the white space effect. Our brains are constantly trying to make sense of incomplete information, and when there's no clear pattern yet, we experience ambiguity. And ambiguity feels uncomfortable. So we tend to do one of two things. We rush to a conclusion or we disengage altogether. I'm not going to try to guess what it is anymore. This doesn't just happen with images. It happens all the time in real life. Think about the first time you heard the phrase, AI will change everything. At first, it sounds abstract, even threatening. It feels like noise, and there's no clear picture yet. Or think about joining a new organization or stepping into a new role. At first, the culture feels confusing. You notice isolated behaviors, meetings, and signals, but they don't yet form a coherent picture. The same thing happens with data. A spreadsheet full of numbers doesn't tell a story until someone interprets it, until patterns emerge, and until meaning is created. In all of these cases, the problem isn't a lack of information. It's that the pattern hasn't surfaced yet. The white space effect describes that moment when we're surrounded by information, but meaning hasn't clicked into place. And here's the key insight. Most people don't struggle because reality isn't clear. They struggle because they haven't learned how to sit with a white space long enough for a new pattern to emerge. This is especially true in the age of AI, where information arrives faster than our ability to interpret it. What looks like chaos at first often turns out to be a signal, but only if we're willing to pause, observe, and let perception reorganize. And that moment, when perception shifts, is called reperception. One of the most essential human skills in the AI era is called reperception, the ability to see beyond the obvious, to find the real signal beneath the noise. AI headlines are noisy, predictions are extreme, fear distorts perception. Reperception allows people to distinguish signal from noise. Irreplaceable professionals learn to reinterpret reality, not react to it. They see patterns, context, and meaning things no algorithm can fully understand. It turns anxiety into insight. It turns confusion into clarity and reaction into intention. This brings us to one of the most important shifts of the AI era. Once you develop reperception, the ability to see signals instead of noise, something important becomes very clear. Information is everywhere. Facts are abundant. Answers are everywhere, and they're even cheap. What's rare and increasingly valuable is interpretation. Interpretation means understanding what matters, why it matters, and what to do about it in a specific context. AI is extraordinary at processing information. It can summarize, compare, generate, and predict at scale. But leadership does not come from having more information. Leadership comes from making sense of it. The context, the judgment, the meaning. And here's where shift becomes very real. In the age of AI, the floor of competency is rising for everyone. Why? Because AI is placing expert level information into everyone's hands instantly, regardless of background, role, or academic degree. In the past, some of you might remember the one, those in my generation, access to specialized knowledge often came through formal education, credentials, or even years of training. Today, many of those barriers are lower. You and I can both ask AI for explanations, frameworks, examples, and best practices in seconds. This doesn't mean that academic degrees are disappearing. They still matter in many fields, but their relative advantage is changing. What differentiates people now is no longer who has access to information. It's who can interpret it well, apply judgment, and decide where to focus. In fact, global workforce research from organizations like PricewaterhouseCoopers shows that as AI becomes more embedded in work, employers increasingly value demonstrated skills, adaptability, and applied judgment over credentials alone. So, in a world where knowledge is widely available, leadership begins exactly here, not with more information, but with better interpretation. Okay, let's now clearly separate roles. What AI does extraordinarily well and what remains uniquely human. We know AI excels at speed, scale, and pattern recognition. It processes massive amounts of data and generates options efficiently. But efficiency alone does not equal wisdom because there are things that AI simply cannot do. Okay? AI cannot care, it cannot build trust, it cannot imagine futures, and it cannot lead humans. Those responsibilities remain with us. And this brings us to the core of your irreplaceability. Your human advantage lives in three domains: insight, connection, imagination. And now we ask a deeper strategic question: which of these capabilities will remain essential no matter how the future unfolds? And you may be asking, high ground skills? What do you mean by that? Okay, so far we've explored the human advantages that differentiate you in the age of AI. But underneath all of this, there is a deeper strategic question we need to ask. When everything is changing, skills, tools, roles, where is the safe place to stand? This is where the concept of high ground comes in. The term high ground comes from strategy, systems thinking, and even from something deeply intuitive. When there is bad weather, heavy rain, or flooding, people instinctively move to higher ground. Not because it's new or flashy, but because it's stable, safe, and resilient when everything else is underwater. And in the context of AI, the high ground represents those human capabilities that remain valuable in any future scenario, regardless of how technology evolves. Technical skills will change, tools will change, industries will change. The high ground will not. So, what actually lives on the high ground? Again, not specific tools, not job titles, not platforms. Three deeply human capabilities live there. First, and we mentioned this earlier, how you work with yourself, your awareness, adaptability, emotional regulation, and clarity under pressure. Second, how you work with others, your ability to build trust, communicate clearly, collaborate, and align people around shared goals. And third, how you work with machines, your judgment, your ability to direct AI rather than follow it, and your capacity to orchestrate people and technology toward meaningful outcomes. These are the capabilities that no algorithm can replicate. They are your safe ground in a storm and the foundation of your irreplaceability. Okay, now that we know where the high ground is, the next question becomes very practical. What does it look like to actually stand on it? Okay, judgment and taste are your ability to make meaning, to distinguish what matters from what doesn't. Judgment is the ability to decide well in context, right? It evaluates options, it weighs trade offs, it considers ethics, risk consequences. So, judgment answers the question, what should we do? Judgment is about decision making under uncertainty. And what about taste? Well, it's the ability to discern quality and meaning beyond rules and data. It recognizes what good looks like, it senses fit and appropriateness, it draws from experience, exposure, reflection, it answers what is good or right or appropriate here. Taste is about discernment, not choice. AI can generate options, but it cannot decide which option is appropriate or ethical or responsible in a specific context. AI predicts and you discern. In moments of complexity, judgment is what prevents reaction and it enables leadership. It is one of the most valuable forms of human expertise. But good judgment alone doesn't create impact. Judgment must be translated into coordinated action. This is where orchestration comes in. Before AI, many professionals were valued for how well they executed individual tasks. You were the clarinet player, the violinist, or the cellist, focused on playing your part as well as possible. With AI, your role fundamentally shifts. You become the conductor. In the age of AI, you are no longer just playing an instrument, you are directing the entire orchestra. You can set up AI tools like GPTs to play different roles in a team, One handles research, another drafts options, another synthesizes information. Your value no longer comes from doing all the work yourself, but from knowing when each instrument should come in, how loudly, and in what sequence. This is where taste matters. It's the ability to sense when you need more brass, when it's time for the piano to enter, or when silence is more powerful than sound. Orchestration is the skill of coordinating people, machines, workflows, and energy toward a coherent outcome. It's how judgment becomes results, it's how intention becomes impact. And here's the key point: if you can orchestrate machines and orchestrate people, you will always, listen to this, you will always have a role no matter how technology evolves. But even the best conductor cannot create a symphony alone. Orchestration only works when people are willing to listen, align, and follow. And that brings us to the next essential capability: relationship intelligence. Even the best conductor, right, cannot create that symphony if the orchestra doesn't trust the conductor. This is where relational or relationship intelligence comes in. RQ is the ability to build trust, understand others, and influence without relying on authority alone. In the age of AI, this becomes a defining leadership capability. Why? Because as work becomes more complex and less predictable, people are no longer just executing tasks. They are constantly interpreting change, and in moments of uncertainty, people don't look for efficiency first. They look for safety, clarity, and trust. That's why trust is quickly becoming the currency of the future. AI can generate messages, it can draft emails, presentations, and talking points, but it cannot create connection. It cannot read the room. It cannot sense hesitation or resistance or unspoken concerns. Those signals live in relationships, not in data. In times of change, people don't follow systems, they don't follow processes, and they don't follow efficiency. They follow leaders they trust. RQ is what allows leadership to function under pressure. It's what makes people willing to stay engaged when answers are incomplete. It's what enables coordination when roles are shifting. And it's what allows orchestration to actually work. Without RQ, orchestration becomes control. With RQ, orchestration becomes alignment. So when we talk about becoming irreplaceable in the age of AI, we're not just talking about thinking differently or using tools better. We're talking about strengthening the human capacity that allows people to move forward together. And that leads us to an important question: how do we use AI without losing or even eroding those deeply human strengths? The answer is not rejection and it's not surrender. The answer is partnership. AI becomes a collaborator that accelerates clarity, creativity, and capacity. It handles volume and speed. You remain responsible for meaning and direction. This distinction between generating and deciding is critical. AI generate content, as we know, summaries and recommendations, but it cannot determine meaning or value. You remain the human in the loop. You are the arbiter of quality, ethics, and alignment. When we understand this division very clearly, a much more powerful model emerges. And the most powerful model for the future is not humans alone. It is, and it's not AI alone. It is the partnership between the two. This distinction is critical. When we frame the conversation as humans versus AI, we create fear and false choices. When we frame it as humans plus AI, we unlock possibility. AI brings speed, scale, pattern recognition. It can process vast amounts of information in seconds. But humans bring depth. We bring context, judgment, taste, ethics, and meaning. Human depth combined with AI speed is what creates exponential value. Not because we do more, but because we do the right things faster with greater clarity. In this partnership, roles are clear. AI expands our thinking, humans decide direction. AI generates options, and humans choose what matters. AI accelerates execution, humans remain responsible for purpose, impact, and consequence. This is why interpretation, judgment, orchestration, and relationship intelligence are not optional skills in the age of AI. They are the capabilities that make the partnership work. Without human depth, AI becomes noise at scale. Without AI, human insight moves too slowly. Together, they create a model where technology amplifies rather than replaces what makes us human. So the real question isn't whether AI will be part of your work. The question is already answered. The question is, what role will you play in the partnership? And to make this practical, let's bring everything together into a simple framework for identifying where your human value truly lies. Every moment where you add value beyond what AI can do falls into one of the three domains: insight, connection, imagination. These domains define where your humanity creates impact. Insight is your ability to synthesize information, see patterns, and make wise decisions. This is where judgment and foresight live. Connection is how insight travels. Trust, communication, collaboration allow ideas to become shared action. Imagination is how we move forward. It allows us to design new solutions and envision possibilities that do not yet exist. When these human strengths meet AI capability, something powerful happens. When your insight, connection, and imagination meet AI's capabilities, you become irreplaceable. Not because you do everything, but because you bring meaning to what technology produces. The future does not belong to those who chase every new tool. It belongs to those who stand on higher ground, who lead with clarity, who think with depth, who connect with intention, and who use AI with purpose. When you use AI to elevate your RQ, not only are you becoming relevant, you're also becoming the conductor of your own future. I have a few recommended reads that I'm sharing with you here on the slide. There's one book that actually was released yesterday. I read some notes on it, and I'm looking forward to reading it because it was just released yesterday. It's called Between You and AI. And this book answers the question, how do we make humans indispensable in a world of machines? And it's a guide to building hybrid teams, meaning human and AI. And the other articles are wonderful resources. One is from Forbes, 5 Human Skills That AI Can't Replace. It's why judgment, empathy, creativity, and adaptability are becoming the true differentiators in an AI-driven world. The second article, Human Skills and AI Collaboration, Key to AI Savvy Leaders. It's about how leaders who integrate human judgment with AI capabilities are better equipped to navigate complexity and change. And then AI is Eating Change Management by Fast Company. This is artificial intelligence. It's about AI, how it's changing how organizations work, but adopting it's not easy. Research shows that nearly 70% of change initiatives are failing. In the AI era, change happens faster and the stakes are higher. Employees worry about job security, leaders don't always communicate clearly, and trust can break down very quickly. So, without a clear and a structured approach, organizations risk slow adoption, frustrated teams, and wasted investments. So, feel free to take a look at those resources. Well, thank you. My request is that you take the baton to strengthen your human skills, connect, learn, and lead with intention. We at Maestro RQ are available to help out on that. And if you need to contact us, feel free to send us an email at info@Maestro RQ. I hope this session helps you see your role and your humanity with greater clarity. The floor is now open for questions or comments. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Sylvia. This is fantastic. I loved it. I feel so empowered right now, so much better about myself.
Awesome.
I wanted to, I see a couple of questions in the Q&A. I can read them to you.
Okay.
Catherine is asking, role of vibe coding in this discussion.
That's I guess, a very technical question, and I'm not an expert in vibe coding, but it's certainly become a very popular topic nowadays, and in fact, it's a call for all of us to look into vibe coding because um, what AI tools are providing us with is the ability to create great things, applications or websites or different products using through vibe coding. I don't know how that works because that personally I have to um, start training on that, right, and add another tool to my toolkit in technology. But all I can say, Catherine, is um, if you have resources where you can get training, please share them with us because I know that's becoming very popular. In fact, I recently went to a conference where they talked about vibe coding, and it is trendy. So that I'm a business entrepreneur, and I love to rely on myself for many things, including technology. So I know that that's a skill that I'm going to have to develop unless I have the budget to be paying all these experts and professionals, which I don't. So I invite everyone to look into that. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. I wish I had better answers to that, but it's another AI tool. Again, we're not here to depend on it, but to partner with technology. And vibe coding is certainly one of them, one of those that we can partner with. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you. And then I see another question from Catherine. Isn't the decision-making and value sorting process in process with AI that would seem a matter of timing more than of capabilities?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, you can. Isn't the decision-making and value sorting process in process with AI that would seem a matter of timing more than of capabilities? You can also read the Q&A, right?
I am trying to find out where to find it, but
Oh, it's at the bottom and
sorry.
of the
Oh
question.
yes, let me
Okay.
let me stop sharing 1 second so I can. Thank you.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. So when it comes to decision making, um, in many organizations, the driver for decision making is about money, right? I was mentioning how challenging it is nowadays for companies to drive change, to implement new technology, especially AI, because people are afraid, right? They're afraid they're going to lose their jobs, or they're afraid they're going to be replaced. So to help with decision making, um, and this is from my partner Adriana and myself running Maestro RQ, we are 100% convinced that organizations need to make a commitment to understand how relationships work, especially how leaders get to influence in the organization. And if you're running your own business, then your role as a business owner is to understand relationships, relationship intelligence, right? People will drive change, will adopt it much sooner if you talk to them, if you communicate, if you listen to their concerns and you're able to address those concerns, if you are transparent, right? And if you're so vulnerable in terms of accepting what you know, what you don't know, what you understand, and what you don't. So making decisions, again, because there's a lot of money involved in these change initiatives, um, will have a big dependency on your ability to connect with your people, with your staff, and also with yourself, right? Understanding we said it earlier, your relationship with technology, how well you feel and how confident you feel about that technology you're trying to implement for your business, for your organization. So, because money is involved, decision making needs to happen fairly quickly. And if you focus on people, if you put people in the center, I bet you things will move much quicker, adoption will happen faster, and you'll be able to get your return on investment much faster.
Great. And then I see Katarzyna, I guess, asking what is Maestro RQ and what do you do? Which we covered a little in the
Yeah,
beginning.
happy to answer that. So MaestroIQ is our website, maestroiq.com, and my partner and I, we use Maestro as that metaphor because all of us leaders and business owners, we have the opportunity to act as conductors, right? As we are responsible for orchestrating talent and resources, AI being a resource. And so we believe that everyone has the potential to become their own conductor of, of their teams, of their businesses. And RQ stands for Relationship Intelligence. So every work that we do at Maestro RQ focuses around relationships. And we said today, right, we talked about 3 types of relationships: with ourselves, with others, and with technology. So that's where Maestro RQ comes. It's a commitment to developing leadership capabilities in the era of AI, particularly through relationships. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Mm-hmm.
Luis Daniel is asking, how do we measure trust? How do we decide who to trust or not?
Wow, I love that question, Luis Daniel. That's a whole different webinar for sure, but I can definitely share a little bit of my own experience with working with leaders all over the world, and they all experience the same challenges around trust. Um, it takes a few questions to answer your team, right? Do I, and it all starts with, do I get feedback on a regular basis? Do I feel safe sharing my opinion or, in my team towards, towards my manager? Am I being recognized for the work that I do? Am I being told what I'm doing right and what needs improvement? If we just focus on those 3 things, as leaders or business owners, I can assure you people will start trusting you better, right? So you don't want people in your team who do not share their opinions, who do not share when they disagree with something. You want to tap into people's talents so that they feel psychologically safe to propose an idea, to question your decision, to simply just share how they feel about a product, a service, anything. And that just doesn't happen. I used to tell a client of mine, because he says, Sylvia, I don't understand why people don't come to my office. I have an open door policy. I've told them 1,000 times they can come to my office and share their feedback if they have any new ideas, et cetera, et cetera. But they don't come. They don't come to my office. What am I supposed to do? And I said, well, I'm glad that you are aware and you're conscious and that you want to do something about it. That's fantastic. That's also called, self-awareness. What needs to happen, I used to tell them, is you go out there and sit with people, meet with them on a one-on-one, make a commitment to get to know them better, and just have casual conversations. Go and learn who they are, what they're all about, show some genuine care, and people will start feeling that you are approachable. It's not just about saying, I have an open door policy. You need to do the walk. You need to approach people first and earn their trust. So, Luis Daniel, there's so many more things we can say, but that's just something to start doing for sure. Thanks.
Thank you. I see here CX, I guess, answering the first question to Catherine about, I guess, the vibe coding.
Uh-huh.
The concept of vibe coding is a reinforcement of the ideas Ms. Vasquez has shared, so that you share. The ideation originates in the human who directs the development, judges good output, discerns what might be problematic, instructs the tool to make the changes, and he says it could be wrong. Thank you for sharing your
Thank you.
feedback.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And then we have another question reshared by Katrina from someone else in the chat called Luca. How do we empower the people willing to embrace change when the whole society is paralyzed by the fear of change?
Wow, another big question and a very strategic one for sure. Um, it starts with us, right? It starts with us recognizing our own concerns, our own fears. Um, but it takes genuine conversations. It does. Please reach out to the people in your team, one person at a time, right? I always say, act in your local square meter. Start talking with the people closer to you, right? And ask open-ended questions. So we're about to implement A or B technology. What do you think about it? And I love to understand how you feel about it, you know, and then listen, listen actively, not reactively, meaning don't put yourself in the defensive or try to justify what you're implementing X or Y technology or why your company is doing it. But when you reach out and ask these questions, is because you genuinely want to understand what's going on in people's minds. If they're willing, right? If they're excited about it, those people can become your champions for change. But if they're concerned, if they're afraid, great that you get to know that, right? It's a great space that you're opening to understand how people feel. And if that's the case, then you have a great opportunity to answer their questions. Maybe they haven't received enough information about what's happening with specific change initiatives or technology that's being implemented in your team or organization. It's listen, try to understand, don't judge, don't answer again defensively, but try to understand. And if you show up as a curious leader, curiosity plays an important role here. Show up curious, and that's how it's going to allow you to ask genuine questions. You'll be able to understand. Listening is a big skill. When you open your heart, you want to listen to understand, not to react. So start with one person at a time. I know we all want to make good, big changes in the world, and we mean good. But if we start one person at a time, soon enough, you'll see a big impact in your team. And instead of being very busy getting reports and tasks, because I know we're busy at work trying to get all this done, make a commitment to build and strengthen your relationships with the people at work, in your office, in your community. That's going to go a long way. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for the insightful question. And I think we don't have any other question coming up. Would you like, Sylvia, to share your contact info one more time?
Oh, absolutely. Let me
Thank you.
share my screen. Yes, one moment. Okay, do you see it there? Info
Yes,
at
great.
maestrorq.com. If you visit our website, you'll see it's in Spanish because we target Latin America mainly, but we also work with multinational companies across the globe. So everything that we do is also available in the English language. But if you send an email to my info at maestrorq, we'll be happy to answer and support you.
Great. Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
great. Thank you so much. This has been great, Sylvia. Everybody really enjoyed the presentation. And
All right.
like I said, Erica and I feel a lot better right now about our
That's good.
jobs and ourselves.
Good.
And thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erica, for helping with the Q&A and the chat. And for everybody, please keep looking out for our webinars at greengeeks.com/webinars. We're going to start back up in January. And thank you. We'll send a recording of this in a couple of days to everyone here.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Silvia.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Yes, and happy holidays,
Bye.
everyone.
Happy holidays. Yes.
Yes.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye.